actually 70% of the people in El Salvador are unbanked. They don't have access to banking services. So that means they can't do loans. They can't do, the basic things that you and I take for granted. They can't control their own store of value in a digital way. There's amazing opportunity around the world. There are so many countries that are starting to realize this path of just hyperinflation and money printer go burr is not sustainable. We need sound money. We need a mechanism where those who are impacted the most, the poorest of the poor, who can't save, have an alternative.
Hello, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are joining us today. I am Kaitie Zhee, and I'm joined with Luke Stokes. How you doing, Luke?
I'm doing fantastic.
I want to talk a little bit about your unique experience that you had being invited down to the country of El Salvador and all of the really exciting news for our industry, adopting Bitcoin as a currency there. And so I want to share more about what that experience was like, give some insight to those who may not have had the opportunity to be down there. And so we can start with that.
Yeah, it was really incredible. I mean, as many people know, I've been labeled a voluntarist or even an anarchist, which means, without rulers. A lot of people in Bitcoin, myself included, are not big fans of government. We're not big fans of centralization. We're not fans of the use of initiation of violent force to get what you want. And so this was a big, shocking experience for me because immediately I'm suspect with working with any centralized authority or any type of government. And so I was kind of suspect as to what could actually be accomplished by meeting with people from the government. And I was suspect as to what this law could mean, making Bitcoin a currency. And what I experienced caused me to actually redefine what I think a government can be. And that's a big deal for me to say. I witnessed something where the people engaged, they were more like entrepreneurs than government officials. And that really surprised me. And it surprised the number of us on the delegation, people that came that had, in some cases, decades experience working with governments. And they also said they've never seen anything like this. And what we experienced when we sat down at this table was a group of people that were dedicated and serious about implementing their goal to make Bitcoin widely accepted throughout their country in 90 days. And they did so in a way that was really interesting in terms of they spent a lot of time talking about their COVID response. So they talked about this incredible vaccination facility they created and this amazing hospital they upgraded and improved on. And it was all done almost like we felt like VCs. They were sitting there pitching us as to the things they've accomplished before and what they're going to accomplish now. And they made it very clear. The team that did this in a very short number of months with 90-something, I think it was 97% approval rating from their citizens as to how they responded. This is the team that is implementing the Bitcoin law. And they made it very clear. We've got 90 days and we're on day 81. We're on day 82. They were like, we're a week plus into this and they're already counting the days. And it was really encouraging. It was really incredible to see their dedication to reducing crime, their dedication to their focus on their citizens, their dedication to helping their people, and doing so in a very efficient, very effective way. And again, this is a country that is currently on the U.S. dollar. So it's not like they're just printing money out of nowhere to accomplish these goals. They're doing so very effectively and efficiently. And it was incredibly encouraging. It really, again, made me redefine what I think of when I think of what is possible with the government. I think I told the story previously where I tweeted out an idea to the president and said, hey, wouldn't it be cool if everyone in El Salvador had their own FIO address at the El Salvador domain, the FIO domain? So I went ahead and I purchased the El Salvador FIO domain and thought that through. A crypto wallet handle for every citizen would be kind of a cool idea. Way to easily onboard them to this new digital future of financial inclusion and access for everyone. Even actually 70% of the people in El Salvador are unbanked. They don't have access to banking services. So that means they can't do loans. They can't do, the basic things that you and I take for granted. They can't control their own store of value in a digital way. And so this is a really exciting opportunity to help the people of El Salvador. And I wanted to honor, first and foremost, all the incredible work that has gone on for many, many years in El Salvador. People at the Bitcoin beach and different places where they've been promoting Bitcoin adoption. As we're driving down the street and we see these big banners that say Bitcoin, it's an amazing experience for someone like myself who's been in the space for more than 8 years and wanted to see, this digital currency used as a currency and to help the unbanked who need it most. It was incredibly encouraging. And there are many that have been on the ground for a very long time, working with the locals, working with the regulators and the government to get us to where we are today. And the people that were able to show up with the group that Brock kind of put together, I know the word official got thrown around a little bit. People got confused by that. In no way did we mean to officially represent Bitcoin. Of course, no one could do that. It's a decentralized network of community members. But it was interesting and significant to us in that it was the first officially recognized delegation of any kind since the COVID pandemic that the government was recognized. So thinking of ourselves as a borderless government of sorts, a borderless nation, the Bitcoin community, not so much a government, but definitely a real group of people that are not bound by borders in any way. To have a government recognize us as an official delegation was quite interesting. And then as far as, we're all ambassadors. Anyone involved in Bitcoin and supporting Bitcoin is an advocate, of an ambassador, is a community member. And I encourage anyone who has the means or the opportunity to definitely talk to regulators and government officials and anyone who has influence within their country, within their geographic region, to make a difference. So it was a very exciting opportunity. It was a very last minute, we all kind of within a matter of days scrambled together. A few of my friends that joined, they literally made the decision the night before. One of them had to borrow a jacket because he's like, I'm going to meet with government officials. I kind of need to have a jacket, and he was not even, he was flying from a different location, not even his home base. So, it was very last minute, and I'm really impressed with the entire community of people that joined us. We were represented by wallets, exchanges, mining companies, Bitcoin teller machines. It was an incredible, diverse group of people. It was a little over 24. So around between 30 and 40 people that came, all very last minute from all different places. We had jets flying in from Mexico, and we flew in a jet from Puerto Rico, and we had people from all over. It was amazing experience. So yeah, we're gonna dive into all that.
Who was kind of there? What were some of these takeaways? What was your impression when hearing firsthand from the government representatives in El Salvador? What were their big interests and what were their goals from the delegation that you picked up on? Before we can get into any of that, can you give a little bit of context to anyone that might be new to hearing about FIO? What FIO is, what the role FIO plays in the cryptocurrency industry, and why FIO was invited to be part of this delegation?
Well, a lot of it, it's again, kind of who and I'll just be upfront about that. There were so many other people that obviously are qualified and could have done a phenomenally wonderful job being part of this group. It was just because I live in Puerto Rico and, I happen to know someone on Brock's team. I mentioned this idea and it caught some interest and it came together. And I know that Brock sent out invitations in different groups that he's in and people responded. So it was really just kind of a matter of people who heard about it responded quickly. So I don't mean to intend that we're something special and unique beyond other amazing projects in the space, but particularly what we are doing that I do think is important is we're making crypto more human friendly, making it more human readable, more human accessible. And that was a theme that I kept hearing from the secretaries from the different departments of the government, and even the central bank secretary that was there as well. It was all about the people. It was like, how do we humanize what we're trying to do? How do we have financial inclusion be a core part of what we're trying to accomplish? How do we help people get onboarded to the future, which they clearly recognized is cryptocurrency and blockchain and Bitcoin? They understood this is the future. And so the role we play is helping humanize it a little more, human readable addresses instead of these big long hashes that can be a little confusing. And I did through the trip, I was onboarding some people to crypto and explaining it to them. And immediately they're like, oh yeah, those big crazy hashes. And when I explained what we were doing, they're like, oh, well, that sounds better. And because they were so concerned they're going to get one character wrong, or they're going to paste the wrong address for the wrong person. It's going to go to the wrong place and it's irreversible and it's gone forever. And when I explained that you can also do a decentralized payment request, you can include a memo, so you can have a note about what that transaction was for and what's it about. Those are things that people expect from their financial experience. That's what they see with PayPal, Venmo, these kind of traditional financial experiences they have today. And so when people can have that experience, but also have what we believe is important, that self-sovereign control of your wealth, the control of your private key, meaning you be the only one that can map your Bitcoin address to your FIO wallet handle. You're the only one that can send that FIO request. And also importantly to us, we run as a decentralized autonomous consortia. I'm not representing a central company that wants to, offer a service to the government and collect some tasty fees. It's actually a decentralized business model. I felt I was representing a consortia of all the FIO members, and these represent, I think it's around 16, 17, 18 different wallets and exchanges now that have integrated the protocol. And you can go to our ecosystem page on the website to see who these members are. So there's a great opportunity to represent those in the industry that really care about usability and really understand that if we're going to have mass adoption of cryptocurrency, we have to make it easier to use. And that's what we were there to do, represent a way to make crypto human readable and human friendly and just humanize the whole experience.
Excellent. I think as somebody who works with the FIO active workers and the consortia that you were just talking about, I help out with the marketing for those who may not be familiar. I absolutely agree, and just want to underscore to anybody who might be new to cryptocurrency and it's just catching their radar and they happen to be watching this video, the whole overarching vision and mission that the FIO protocol is solving is to make it easier for the average person to be able to access and leverage the benefits of cryptocurrency, the benefits of self-sovereignty with Bitcoin. And the only way to do that in a way that restores some level of confidence, gives them the assurance that they know what they're doing and that they can be comfortable. It's a familiar kind of experience, is we have to move away from that programmable computer cryptographic complexity, right? Where that makes no sense to any of our human simple brains here. And so making it in a way that we can understand it, we can feel comfortable. And I think that that is such an important key for moving this industry into the hands of so many around the world. And I think, I continue to catch interviews with other thought leaders in this industry who really kind of get it, right? That they've been in the real world, they have a taste of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and where things are going. And for them, it's all about that you have these two major cohorts of people that are really active in this industry. You've got, of course, your VCs and the people that are in more traditional kind of roles of finance where they understand it and they're trying to capitalize on the profits to be had. However, this large aggregate of people that are coming from a lot of, lesser developed parts of the world that have lesser means of access to financial tools that, places like the United States or Hong Kong and Switzerland have, they can now participate in this global market share, and they've never been able to do that. However, we need to help. We have a duty, I feel, an obligation to help them get into this industry in a way where they are in good hands, where they can be confident that they're not going to risk, accidentally sending money to the wrong place. And that's so important to accomplishing the goal that I believe El Salvador is trying to accomplish when they say, yes, we're going to accept Bitcoin as legal tender in this country. It only works if it works.
It's super, super important. And I actually, just as we were talking, I got a list sent to me of some of the people that participated. And these are companies like Bit Digital, Kraken, obviously FIO, Netkey, Athena, Bitcoin Global, Immutable Industries, CryptoSpace, Paxful, Crypto, DeFi, Ran, who creates incredible documentaries. He's working on a story about this that's coming out very shortly. BTC Media, the Chamber of Digital Commerce, Paybook. And there's a group that just came together at the last minute. And what was really interesting, just on the point you just made, is that passion to say, one, it has to work. It has to be easy. A lot of us were using Lightning Network as we were there. We were tipping people in Lightning Network. We tipped the piano player. We were purchasing things. We were buying drinks with Lightning. And there were sometimes, myself personally, that it didn't work as well as I would like. I had one transaction just kind of be in limbo, unfortunately, on the Blue Wallet, and the help page was kind of discouraging as far as what I could do about it. So I tried Moon Wallet and it crashed the first time I hit the button. So the third time was a charm and it worked out. But it's like, it was a reminder, and it was a reminder to all of us that we've got a lot of work to do in the industry to continue to make this easier. And at the same time, it was important, and it was wonderful to hear the passionate speeches from the group saying, we can't sacrifice why all this matters, like not your keys, not your coins. And there was a big, cry towards, as much as they honor, and this came from one speech in particular I'm thinking of, was from an exchange. So they were acknowledging, yes, I am a centralized exchange and I have, these aspects, but the idea that you really want to own your own keys so you can own your own cryptocurrency. And that is the point. And if we just onboard people in El Salvador to centralized solutions where they don't own, custodial solutions where they don't own their own keys, and we don't educate them about what this all means and why it's important for full freedom and control of their own store of value, then as you said, it doesn't kind of work. The whole point of this is that we're introducing a tool for freedom. This is what I experienced on my trip here. This was looking out the window from my hotel room, this amazing museum of art. You can obviously tell it's a beautiful country. And when I first walked in, I had no idea what to expect. When I saw this huge table, I was like, oh my gosh, this is like from the movies. Look at all the people here. And most of these people were our delegation. These were from our group of people. And just this here at the end of the table would be where the officials of the government and officials from the central bank and other banks represented as well.
I would love to hear from you. You have been pretty vocal about your viewpoints on centralized governments and things like that. And what was surprising to you? What do you think that El Salvador is getting right, and why are they able to be so courageous when a lot of governments are just looking at it and still trying to figure out what is this thing?
That's a great question. One of the things that came through loud and clear was the overwhelming support for their president. Their president, I think, has a 92% approval rating right now, which is unheard of. Not only that, the party that he represents now is 70% in Congress, meaning they have a super majority in Congress. So every presentation we were given, and actually I'm going to go share again because it relates to what you just said, related to something they've accomplished. And for example, here's a picture of their medical facility and how they're dealing with the COVID response. Their ability, I felt like it was in a NASA, station. It was amazing. And this is just one example. They actually, I don't have pictures of it, unfortunately, but they had this incredible vaccination testing facility, 3 layers deep, where they could do thousands of people in real time. And this was an example, like this building didn't exist a number of months ago. We built this building, we built these facilities, we did all of this. And so they were really acting like entrepreneurs. And that's what blew me away the most. We felt like they were pitching to a number of VCs about, here's what we've accomplished with the COVID response. Here's what we've done with eliminating crime. If there's anything you take away from this video, it's please understand this. And this is what I love so much about this presentation. She started off by saying, name one thing that you think about El Salvador before you came on this trip. And now that you've seen it, name something. Now, what do you think about El Salvador? Just one word. And it was so beautiful to see the change as we had that experience, but really amazing thing. And of course, the country itself is just so beautiful. I wanted to share some pictures from up on the volcano, like mountaintops where we were. And they did show us a really incredible time. This I wanted to show, which was actually at the end of the last day. This didn't fit what I had in my mind about El Salvador. I mean, beautiful mall, incredible people. Again, we were treated like a very official delegation. Coming in, and they had a nice bus, and they took us around to different locations to kind of give us a feel for what El Salvador is really like. And we really, really appreciated that. It was an amazing experience. And so I just wanted to share a little bit of that with you all to kind of get a behind the scenes look at what we got to participate in, and also kind of tease it out there that, I got to hang out with Brock last night, actually, and talk a little bit further about some of this. There's amazing opportunity around the world. There are so many countries that are starting to realize this path of just hyperinflation and money printer go burr is not sustainable. We need sound money. We need a mechanism where those who are impacted the most, the poorest of the poor, who can't save, have an alternative. And now they can actually be encouraged to save. And once they're encouraged to save, it's not as spend as quickly as you can. It's more about, wait, think about the future and prepare and plan. It changes their lives completely. And I heard story after story from others who've been to other countries and have helped with similar delegations and talked with other leaders about this, that when they learn how to use Bitcoin and integrate it into their lives, when they realize they can have a deflationary currency, it just changes their entire outlook of how they plan for the future, how they think about work, and how they think about doing things that have a long-term benefit for themselves and their family. It was just incredibly beautiful. And I know there are other countries that are watching very closely. And I think El Salvador was just the first of many. They have a unique situation, as we talked about, as far as that consensus between their citizens and their government. And, so that is unique, but that's also something that came about through pretty incredible circumstances. In the very beginning, those in power didn't want that president to have an opportunity to be even on the ballot. So there was a lot of political fighting, and he had to prove himself. No one in that existing political infrastructure wanted to be a part of what he was doing. So from what I heard, he went elsewhere to say, who can I bring in the experts if I can't get people that are part of the political machine to support me within here. So I think it can be replicated in other places. You can, as a group of people, stand up and say, we're going to elect a visionary. We're going to put someone in a position of leadership who can bring us together on shared goals, financial inclusion, fighting crime, being in a situation where we can respond to things like the pandemic. And again, it was really amazing for me as someone who only sees the bad sides of government and is very passionate about decentralized, nonviolent mechanisms of governance and just ways that we can build better systems. But it got me thinking that as we continue to do that, there are also opportunities to work within the existing systems and find those people who have a heart to help others and find those people who are really servants to the people. And that's what I think we found. And it was a really incredible experience. And I hope there's going to be many other countries that follow suit, because I do know some are watching, and there's already been, congressmen and others that are tweeting about, hey, when are you coming next? So I definitely would say this is an invitation that if you have an opportunity to work with your political capital, work with the people to connect with governments, connect with those that are in positions of leadership in their communities, to start treating this as a very serious opportunity, is that you can transition to a better currency, one that is self-sovereign, secure, and something that you can control. So I'm just really excited that I had an opportunity to go. I think it's probably going to be one of many trips in the future. The specific idea that we, as the Foundation for Inter-Wallet Operability, presented was the idea, again, of providing FIO addresses for everyone. We can link to that video somewhere. It'll be in one of the little boxy things where you can hear a little bit about the presentation that I gave, and plus some additional information as well. And we'd love to hear your information about this. If you happen to be in another country and you happen to think this is an exciting opportunity, let us know. Maybe we can add you to the list. Maybe we can get a group of people together to show up and talk to your leaders and say, hey, there's a better way. What if we made Bitcoin something that you could take seriously as a currency? And what if we made the opportunity for investment something that could happen in your country as well? And what if we made all of that more human accessible with a crypto wallet handle? So
can you share a little bit about what your takeaways were from what kind of opportunity this gives to the people of El Salvador that is positioning them at the front of a movement, whereas countries that are lagging behind, what opportunity might they be missing on?
It's an incredible opportunity. One, because in El Salvador, they have geothermal and they have a lot of renewable energy opportunities with volcanoes and other things. So they can actually implement mining facilities to, as a nation, start gaining more and more Bitcoin. And as they accept Bitcoin within their nation, instead of them basically creating value for the U.S. dollar, they're creating value for themselves. And I think it's, examples of like Michael Saylor and other people that are just kind of YOLOing in, buying as much Bitcoin as possible. Anyone who buys after that has to buy at a higher price, essentially. It's going to be a little more difficult for them to obtain the same number of Bitcoin. And I think any nation state that understands this game theory dynamic, and any citizen of that nation state that benefits from that, I think is really going to do well by being first. And this is a game theory dynamic. It's just, I think, the reason why so many other countries are saying, oh man, we need to do this next. We need to do this also. And it also might be why the IMF is getting a little scared and they're responding in certain ways saying, oh no, this is dangerous. And it's like, no, U.S. dollar is more transparent, or, is used more for criminal activity and all that. Like, their arguments don't make any sense. So you have to look a little deeper and say, what are the real concerns? And the real concerns are essentially that they may not have the same level of centralized control over these economies that they've had in the past. And so I do think it's an exciting opportunity for the people of El Salvador to control their own store of value and be first in line to do so, so that those who come later, it's just like when I first bought Bitcoin 8.5 years ago, I spent $20 to get a full Bitcoin. Today it's, more than $20,000 to get a full Bitcoin. And so those are the type of things that those who understand what's going on here in the economic sense and how it's somewhat inevitable, certainly want to be first.
Very cool. And I know that I've heard some, but maybe you can touch a little bit more on what kind of policies El Salvador is putting onto the table. I know one of them is about no capital gains tax, which is huge. So any business or merchant in El Salvador is now legally required to accept Bitcoin as legal tender for any of their goods or services. And as it's a deflationary asset, and we speculate that over the course of time, the value will increase, in the United States, we're taxed on that, unless you live in Puerto Rico. However, there are a few countries around the world that have acknowledged this and have chosen to not have capital gains tax on their appreciating assets. And so what that does is that creates a real strong appeal for entrepreneurs and business owners to consider where they might want to establish their headquarters at. Can you touch a little bit more about some of this and how they're thinking through it? What gives them the bravery to go ahead and forego all of that capital gains tax?
It's a great question. I can't go into too much of the detail as far as like their reasonings behind it, but I think there's a lot of different perspectives you can take from an economic perspective. When essentially economic freedom creates value, and it has everywhere we see it. When individuals are free to produce and to create and to participate in banking services, for example, just basic financial instruments, it creates an opportunity to start new businesses, to hire new employees, to do so much more. And all of those things obviously generate economic activity, which generates revenue, of course, for the government. And so I think there is just a macro view of things to say, what have we been doing that hasn't worked? What can we do and that can work better? And I think there are many examples throughout history, even where people are given, more control over their own lives and able to make better decisions at the micro local level for what they want to do to help themselves and their families. This generally ends up being beneficial for the whole community. Another great example, kind of a historic example, is the separation of church and state. Created a lot of freedom where people would choose to worship in any format that they wanted and serve a God in any way that they wanted, or not serve a God at all. They had that freedom to do that. And I think this is marking a very historic moment where we're starting to see the separation of state and money. And it's ironically happening through the states recognizing it's inevitable. And so it's kind of one of those, you can't beat it, you might as well join it. And because again, of the game theory, those who do it first are going to have the greatest benefit from doing so.
And did you have the opportunity to talk with any of the people of El Salvador, the merchants that are on Bitcoin Beach and accepting Bitcoin? Is that a preferred tender for them, or how are they embracing it? What's their level of excitement?
Well, as I mentioned previously, we were an official delegation. So our entire schedule was very tightly managed and controlled as far as like on the bus to the next thing, to the next thing. And so I would have enjoyed a more loose kind of approach. We did get to, right before our flight, my friend Ben and we did get to walk around the city a little bit more and visit, but that wasn't at the Bitcoin Beach area. That said, I was able to sit with one of the cameramen actually for that was working with one of the productions there, and had great conversations with him about what it's like, and got him onboarded with his first Bitcoin wallet. And I was explaining to him all about it. He's very interested in it, sent him some educational materials. And it was very interesting to hear from him just the stories that they've gone through. Some of them quite concerning, his friends and family, the things they've seen over the years. And at the same time, the encouragement that they have now, the hope and optimism they have now. And so I think they're very open to it, just based on the few conversations I did have. They're very open to it, very optimistic that this could be something beneficial for them. But we're just getting started. Time is going to tell. This is just the first of many trips that are going to be required to help educate people and bring in more opportunities, more companies involved in the Bitcoin space and the blockchain space that can come and help both from mining and ATMs and BTMs and wallet infrastructure, educational services. There's quite a bit that's needed, and they're very open to it. So it's an incredible opportunity. If you're looking for a place to come visit, I would recommend checking out El Salvador, go visit Bitcoin Beach and figure out what opportunities are there where you can help, because this is a movement and you're part of it.
That's really cool. And it's cool to underscore that Bitcoin, you are self-sovereign, you're part of a movement. Everybody has a role to play in that and moving this forward. Another question that I wanted to ask you is, if you had the opportunity to be in front of another government, and we'll just say government X, it doesn't matter which government it is, and what takeaways could you share with them from what you've seen and witnessed firsthand from the people and government representatives of El Salvador that would be important for them to take note of as they look at adopting Bitcoin potentially?
I would say that this level of optimism and this level of understanding that we can't keep doing what we're doing and expect a different result, and this level of expectation both with the people and the government that those in leadership are meant to serve, and they are meant to create opportunity for their people, and they're meant to improve the lives of people that live there. And that was something that came through loud and clear, that the people there in that government, the people that are working on these, responding to the pandemic, creating these laws and implementing the Bitcoin law, they're there with a dead set goal of improving the lives of humans. And they would mention statistics, of course, but they were quick to say it's not just about the numbers. These are real human beings. These are real human lives. These are families whose lives are improved because of the great work we're doing together as a community, as a government. And I was just very inspired by that. And I would say, again, back to the game theory, recognizing if you're a government that's watching this and thinking about it, there's a window here for you to benefit by being in first, because it's somewhat inevitable. And I think those countries that come together and recognize this and work together to create opportunities to make this easier and easier for the next country and the next country, you essentially can join together, and even if you're a small country, and become a loud voice and even a powerful force on the world stage for freedom and for liberty and for your people in a way that previously wasn't possible. I think the technology didn't quite exist. There wasn't enough acceptance of these systems. And now at over $1 trillion, this is real and it has some power behind it. And that's something that you also can participate in.
Very cool. And it does make a huge difference. I did catch somebody was analyzing this move with the Bitcoin law, and El Salvador is part of the World Bank. And because of that, the World Bank initially wanted to push back and say, no, we reject this right now. However, stated in their clause or official documents, it outlines that they have an obligation to accept it, meaning that all the other members have to acknowledge it. Either they accept it or they have to publicly squirm out of changing the rules in some way. But either way, they have to acknowledge this move on a global stage, which is, all these conversations compounded over time make a really big difference for the industry. And so getting to be a part of that and shaping how that moves is a really cool first mover advantage.
I agree completely. It's pretty exciting.
All right, Luke, thank you so much for your time and sharing more about your experience in El Salvador. It's it's beautiful, it's exciting, and I know that after watching this and hearing more about it, I will absolutely consider taking my next trip down.